On July 31, 1944, a single-engine reconnaissance plane took off from Corsica. It never came back. No mayday call, no wreckage found for 60 years. The pilot was 44 years old. He had a broken shoulder, a bad knee, and a heart condition that made it physically painful to climb into the cockpit. He could have stayed home. He had every reason to, because this man had already done something almost no human being in history has managed to do. He wrote a book, a short, quiet little book about a boy on an asteroid that would go on to sell over 200 million copies. His name was Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and what happened to him is one of the strangest stories of the 20th century. Antoine wasn't supposed to be a pilot. Born in 1900 into minor French aristocracy, he failed his naval officer exam, failed it twice. But from the moment he first flew a plane at age 12 as a passenger, sneaking a ride from a mechanic at a local airfield, something clicked inside him that never unclicked. It was the only place he felt real. He got a job as a male pilot, flying fragile open cockpit biplanes across the Sahara Desert and the Andes Mountains. These weren't pleasure flights. These were routes where pilots regularly died, where a downed plane in the Sahara meant days without water, hallucinations, and slow death. Antoine crashed in the Sahara. He and his mechanic survived for 4 days by drinking dew off rocks before a Bedouin found them. He nearly died over the Andes, survived a crash in Guatemala. And yet, he kept going back. His mother thought he was suicidal. His wife, the stormy, brilliant Consuelo, thought he was simply addicted to disappearing. She wasn't entirely wrong, because what Antoine was chasing in the sky wasn't just adrenaline. It was something harder to name. In his masterpiece memoir, Wind, Sand, and Stars, he wrote, "I fly because it releases my mind from the tyranny of petty things." In 1940, France fell to Nazi Germany in 6 weeks. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry watched his country collapse from the cockpit of a reconnaissance plane, flying unarmed over German panzer columns, photographing the invasion while bullets tore through his wings. He was evacuated to the United States, and there, in exile in New York City, depressed, drinking too much, fighting constantly with Consuelo, watching his country be occupied from across an ocean, he wrote a book. He wrote it in a borrowed apartment on Central Park South. He drew the illustrations himself, small, childlike watercolors of a tiny figure on a tiny planet. The book was dedicated, unusually, to his best friend Leon Wirth, with a small apology. "I ask children to forgive me for dedicating this book to a grown-up." Leon Wirth was a 50-year-old Jewish intellectual hiding from the Gestapo in occupied France. Antoine was telling him, "You are the child this book is really for. You are the one who still sees clearly." The Little Prince was published in April 1943. It sold out immediately. But Antoine wasn't celebrating. He was consumed by guilt. While he sat in New York writing fairy tales, his friends were dying in the French resistance. His country was burning. And he, the famous pilot, the decorated war hero, was a refugee, protected by his fame. That he could not live with. In late 1942, he pulled every string he had to get back into active service. The military didn't want him. He was too old, too famous, too valuable as a symbol. His medical reports were a disaster. He had a shoulder so badly damaged from a previous crash that he couldn't raise his arm above his head, which made it physically agonizing to pull back the aircraft controls at altitude. He had circulation problems that caused him to black out in the cold at 30,000 feet. His commander literally tried to ground him by hiding his flight orders. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry got back in the plane anyway. Why? His letters from this period are devastating to read. He wrote to friends that he no longer cared whether he survived. He wrote that the world he had known was gone. What exactly was he supposed to be safe for? His commanders gave him a maximum of 8. Then he would be permanently grounded. On his 8th mission, July 31, 1944, a routine photography run over occupied southern France, he disappeared. For 57 years, no one knew what happened. No wreckage, no body, no witnesses. Theories multiplied. Shot down by a German fighter, engine failure, suicide. In 1998, a fisherman off the coast of Marseille found a silver identity bracelet in his net. On it, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, Consuelo, New York. In 2000, divers found the wreckage of a Lockheed P-38 Lightning on the Mediterranean seabed, 230 meters down. In 2004, French authorities confirmed the serial number matched Saint-Exupéry's plane. He simply lost consciousness at altitude, blacking out from the cold, from the physical toll on his broken body, and went into the sea. The Little Prince has now been translated into 300 languages. It is the most translated book in the French language. It has never gone out of print in 80 years. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry was writing about something he saw clearly, that adults spend most of their lives forgetting the things that actually matter. We stop asking the only question worth asking: what is essential? If you want more stories like this, subscribe. One life, one impossible choice, one reason it still matters today.